Okay, so I'm going to be doing a video series on an intro to Java course, as many of you may be using Java in your current studies in high school or college. I don't know what, but I found that many of my classmates had a lot of trouble doing stuff with Java because they didn't really understand how to translate their thoughts into code. So I am going to do somewhat of a tutorial lesson series on how to do this. So first things first is you need to install Java. What you need to do is you need to go to, well, I just Googled Java JDK, and it's the first one on Google's results. And you click on JDK, not JRE, because that's just the runtime environment, which means that it only runs Java programs but cannot compile Java programs. If you have the JDK, it comes with the JRE. So get the JDK, select your platform. You should know what type of platform you have, but if you're not sure on whether or not you have 64-bit or 32-bit, just choose 32-bit because it'll work on both 32-bit and 64-bit machines. Alright, well, I've already got that installed. The next thing to install is called JCreator. This is your IDE, and this is the one that I'm going to be using for this tutorial. It's not really the only option, and in fact it's not the best option for working on huge projects, but for learning I think it's the best because you can easily learn it and get into it. You don't have to create projects or anything like that. You can just compile a single Java file and run it without having to hassle with any of the stupid stuff that other IDEs like NetBeans and Eclipse might have you go through. But NetBeans and Eclipse are definitely much better if you're doing a large project. So you'd want to select JCreator LE. The Pro version has a lot more features, but it's not free. It only has like a 30-day trial. So get JCreator LE right here, if I can highlight it correctly. There we go. And you click download, and unfortunately they make you give them your email and name. If you don't want to get bothered by them, just uncheck this box, hit submit. They'll send you a download link to your email address that you provide. Okay, well, I've got both of those installed already, so why don't we just fire up JCreator. So the first time you fire up JCreator, this is what you're going to be presented with. This part doesn't really matter since you're probably the only one using your computer. I mean, it really would not matter if you're using a family computer. This does matter, but basically it just saves the settings that you use in JCreator to either just your user account or for every user account on that PC. And this is just file associations, don't need to worry about that. This is important. This shows the IDE where the JDK is, which is really important, because if it doesn't know where it is, then it can't compile your programs. So, where it should be located is under My Computer, Local Disk. If you're on 32-bit Windows and you have the 32-bit version installed, it's going to be in Program Files. 64-bit Windows, if you have the 64-bit version installed, it's going to be under Program Files. If you have the 32-bit version of Windows installed, it's going to be under Program Files x86 in this directory. But I have the 64-bit version installed, and it's going to be under this Java directory. And then you'll notice that I have several different JDK directories. Well, two, but it's more than one. You're going to be downloading the most up-to-date JDK version, so you'll only have one of these. I've had a Java update since I installed it, so I actually have two. But if you do have two, pick the one with the largest number right here to the right. In this case, it's 24 instead of 23. So just pick that, hit OK. And next, if you want to download the Java docs, you can. It's not really necessary for this version of JCreator. Because you can see all the documentation online, and this version of JCreator doesn't support it. So go ahead and click Finish if you don't want to do that. And so these tips, not really helpful, so go ahead and disable that if you don't want them. This is the start page. Don't really need to worry about this. Every IDE has it. I don't know why. It's kind of dumb. But anyways, we're going to jump right into it and create our first Java program. It's going to be very simple. It's called the Hello World program. It's the first program you ever learn in any language. So let's get started. You can either click this New File button right here, or you can click File, New File, just like any other program out there, right? And in this case, I'm going to choose Empty Java File. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to make a new folder, and it is going to be Hello World. And you can put this in any directory you want. You can put it directly into My Documents. You can create your own directory. I don't care. But I'm making a new folder. And in this case, we're going to name it Hello World.java. You have to name it .java. You can have the actual name, as in this highlighted part, anything you want, but .java has to be at the end. So we're going to click Finish, and we have Hello World.java open. So the first thing you want to do when you are writing a Java program, and I'm lying to you right now, but for now, this is the first thing you want to do, is you want to type out public class Hello World. Okay, so what I did here is public class Hello World. This is just stating that this class is viewable to the public, as in anyone can reference it. And it is a class, since Java is heavily object-oriented, and everything is a class. Everything in Java is a class, except for primitive data types, which I will get into later. And it's Hello World because we named our file hello world.java. You have to name your class the exact same thing that you name your file. And it has to be, every single letter has to match, including uppercase and lowercase. So Java is case sensitive in this case. These brackets basically mean everything inside of this is part of my class. So from this point to this point, that is your class. So inside our class, we're going to declare our main method. The main method is where everything gets executed. Every single program has to have a main method in at least one of its classes, and we'll get into more of what I mean by that later. But the main method is what Java looks for to say, this is where I want you to start executing. So what we're going to do is say public static void main string to braces and args. You don't really need to know what any of this means yet, but you have to have this verbatim at the beginning of every single program within your class declaration. What this is a method declaration of main. And so all this program is going to do is it's going to print out hello world to the command line, or in this case, JCreator has its own special little thing for that, which I'll show you in a bit. So we're going to say system.out.println hello Okay, so what this is it's calling the print line method um, to print out the string hello world. We'll get into more about strings and other types of data types within Java a bit later, but for now, just know that this is just text. That's the way Java sees it, that's the way it's going to treat it, that's the way it's going to be printed out. And this is just a method to print something out. There's also a system.out.print, which just prints out text with no line break, and there's also system.out.printf, which allows you to format text, and we'll get into that a little bit later, actually a lot later because it's sort of advanced. Alright, so we are going to compile this, and now we're going to run it. And there it is. Hello world. Okay, so a few things. Like I said here, these braces in the context of this class declaration they mean everything within this class is between these two braces. So from where the cursor is there to up here, those are the contents of the class. Likewise, for methods, everything between here and here within these braces, that is a part of this method. This is being executed within the main method. We'll get into more about methods a little bit later. Another thing that's very important is that text has to be put in quotes. If we don't have these quotes, let's compile, and it just threw out a bunch of errors. And so it's saying that it's expecting a closed parentheses, but we have our closed parentheses. Well, that's just an interesting little error of that Java has, where it doesn't see parentheses, but it sees something else, and it doesn't think that it's a string when we really meant it to be. And so it's throwing out a bunch of stuff that doesn't really make sense. So you really have to be careful, because that can really bite you whenever you're writing a program and you've written 1,000 lines of code, and then you compile, and then all of these different errors pop up and you have no idea what they mean, and really it's something stupid like you forgot to put quotes around your string. So be careful with that. Another thing to be careful with, and this is a big gotcha, is semicolons. I just deleted the semicolon at the end of system.out.println. Let's compile it, see what happens. It'll tell you semicolon expected. If you forget a semicolon, the Java compiler is actually very good at predicting where semicolons need to be, so it's a lot easier than, say, forgetting quotes to debug, but still a pain whenever you get like 25 different semicolon expected errors whenever you compile. So these are things you're going to run into. You're going to forget to put strings quotes around your strings, you're going to forget to put semicolons, you're going to forget to close parentheses, you're going to misspell variables. These are things that are just going to happen. They're going to happen now when you're beginning, they're going to happen till you retire from programming forever. Everyone does it. It's just something you're going to have to get used to. Something I want to look at real quick. You notice down here that for a while this wasn't here while we were writing the program. Well, this is actually really handy, because you notice that the build output, this is where we had a hello world printout earlier. But now, whenever the output for when I didn't